right now, companies all across the globe are spending millions of dollars to actively fire their most experienced employees.
Yeah, which sounds completely backwards, right?
It really does. I mean, they are pushing out these seasoned veterans just to make room for cheaper AI-trained novices. And, on paper, if you're looking at a boardroom presentation, it looks like a brilliant modernization strategy.
Oh, absolutely. To a CFO, it looks great.
Right. But the actual data shows this exact reflex is triggering a global skill shortage, a shortage that's projected to cost the global economy $5.5 trillion.
Trillion. With a T, it's just staggering.
Yeah, so today, for you, someone who, loves learning but really wants the signal through all the noise of this AI revolution, we are decoding why the ultimate workforce strategy isn't about looking outward, it's about reinventing completely from within.
It's a massive structural paradox.
Yeah.
Because you have organizations bleeding out this core institutional knowledge just to save a few bucks in the short term. And they're completely miscalculating what makes an employee valuable in an AI-driven landscape.
Exactly. And to anchor this deep dive, we are pulling from this really insightful May 19th, 2026 article by Shish S. It's called Why the Future of Work Will Be Built on Internal Reinvention.
It's a great piece. Really digs into the mechanics of this shift.
It does. And we have that text plus some incredibly candid community commentary from professionals who are literally on the ground living through these corporate restructurings right now.
And I think that commentary is crucial,
Yeah.
because it cuts right through the corporate PR. To understand where the future of work is actually going, you have to look at the immediate, almost knee-jerk reaction companies are having to these accelerating tech cycles.
The urge to just clean house.
Exactly. The universal instinct right now is to just restructure out the old guard.
But wait, hold on. I want to push back on this right out of the gate. Because if I'm a CFO, right, and I'm looking at a 23-year-old external hire who can, I don't know, prompt an AI to write a functional software app in 10 minutes, and I compare them to a 50-year-old project manager who, barely knows what a Python script is. I mean, why wouldn't I take the 23-year-old? The raw output is faster, the salary is lower, and they supposedly don't have those entrenched legacy assumptions about how work, quote unquote, should be done.
Right, that's the standard logic.
So what is the actual financial flaw in that logic?
Well, the flaw is that the CFO's spreadsheet is only measuring the cost of production. It's completely ignoring the cost of friction.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that calculus completely misses what the author calls the invisible asset on the balance sheet. Like, when you swap that higher-cost veteran for a lower-cost novice, you aren't just swapping coding speeds.
Right, because coding is just a tool.
Exactly. You are permanently deleting a deep, accumulated, practical understanding of how the business actually functions in reality, not how it functions in some HR training manual.
Okay, let's unpack this. Restructuring out these veterans is like throwing away a perfectly seasoned cast iron skillet just because you bought a new induction stove.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right, like you might have the fancy new tech, but you've thrown away the very thing that gives the food its flavor. You've lost all that built-up seasoning.
What's fascinating here is that companies are already sitting on the exact assets they're desperately trying to hire. The source gives a brilliant illustration of this, actually.
Oh yeah, the supply chain architect, right.
Yes. Imagine an architect who has spent a decade managing a retail supply chain. That veteran doesn't just know the software systems. They know the seasonal pressures. They know the specific vendor dynamics.
Like which supplier is always going to ship late in November.
Exactly. Or they know the escalation patterns that only become visible after you've survived, 3 different holiday rush meltdowns.
Or take the customer success leader that the text mentions. This is a person who can just look at a client's usage patterns and sense they're getting frustrated weeks before any automated dashboard flashes red.
You cannot code that intuition. It doesn't transfer cleanly through a quick onboarding module or some handover PDF.
No, definitely not.
So when companies push those people out the door, the business still desperately needs that knowledge to function. And they end up starting this incredibly long, expensive process of rebuilding it from scratch. And they're quietly damaging customer relationships the entire time.
Which perfectly brings up the commentary from Brandon Rell in our source material. He points out that we hear all these slick terms from corporate America right now.
Oh, the jargon. It's everywhere.
Right, terms like right-sizing, rebalancing, optimizing. But Brandon calls it what it actually is. He says it's often just sanitized corporate code for mass layoffs and institutional brain drain.
Yeah. And the gap here isn't a lack of raw capability among the existing employees. The gap is the organization's complete lack of a structured pathway to help those seasoned employees evolve as the tech changes.
But wait, so if the data clearly shows this institutional knowledge is worth its weight in gold, why is everyone so panicked? Why the rush to dump the veterans and replace them with code-generating AI?
Well, it happens because business leaders fundamentally misunderstand what AI actually replaces.
How do you mean?
Most workforce strategies right now, they treat AI purely as a disruptor. Like it's a machine that simply eliminates entire roles and demands brand new, hard technical skills.
But the article argues that AI is mostly just taking over the routine execution layer, right?
Exactly. It's doing the boilerplate coding, it's drafting the standard emails, pulling the routine data reports.
So wait, so are we saying that as technology gets more advanced, having hard technical skills is actually becoming less of a competitive advantage than just knowing how the business works?
Yes, that is exactly what's happening. AI isn't just doing the execution, it's commoditizing it. And because execution is commoditized, the relative importance of pure, raw technical skill is actively decreasing.
Because a machine can just do the heavy lifting for you.
Right. If the machine does the heavy technical lifting, your ability to do that lifting manually is no longer a premium skill.
Okay, let's look at a concrete example to really ground this for you listening. Let's say an AI can instantly write the code to integrate a retail bank's database with a new mobile app.
Okay, sure. It does it in seconds.
Right, seconds. But the AI doesn't know that the bank's VP of operations refuses to approve cloud migrations in the fourth quarter.
Huh. Yes, the corporate politics.
Exactly. Or that the internal compliance team requires a very specific 30-day security review for consumer data.
And the 22-year-old external hire doesn't know that either.
Nope.
And
but the veteran employee does. So the machine writes the code, but the veteran actually maneuvers the company to deploy it.
that is the perfect distinction. AI is redistributing where professional value lives. It shifts the premium away from execution and heavily towards strategy and context.
So it's not just a disruptor that eliminates jobs.
No, not at all. What skyrockets in value is judgment, contextual reasoning, and business acumen. And those are qualities that come strictly from extended exposure to real organizational complexity.
So the real value isn't knowing how to type the code. The value is knowing what code needs to be written to solve the highly nuanced, messy, real-world bureaucratic problem.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this leads to some very logical career progressions that the source outlines. Take a software engineer, right? One who possesses strong communication skills and maybe a decade of deep industry knowledge.
Okay.
As AI takes over their routine coding, they might actually be far better suited to move into technical sales or maybe an advisory role.
Because they already know the product inside and out. They don't have to learn the product. They just need to be taught the sales motion, which is way faster than teaching a sales guy 10 years of tech knowledge.
Exactly. Or consider a support specialist who has spent years developing deep customer empathy. They could be exactly what a solutions consulting team needs.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Or a domain-specific technical architect.
Yeah.
Someone who has spent 10 years in one specific vertical. They're uniquely positioned to actually lead the AI program strategy for that exact domain.
Okay, so if it's this obvious, like if these transitions are this logical, and we know relying on the outside market is causing a massive skill shortage, why are companies still relying on the old golf buddy system for internal promotions? Why hasn't HR fixed this glaring inefficiency?
It comes down to a massive failure of current corporate training infrastructures. We have to look at the traditional learning management system, the LMS.
Oh man, the LMS, traditionally, that's just a portal where they dump a static library of videos, right? And you log in, once a year to click through your mandatory compliance training?
Yeah, usually while you're doing something else in another monitor.
Exactly.
But it goes much deeper than just being boring or static. The real failure of the traditional LMS is that it lacks a skills ontology. It doesn't actually map latent data.
So it's not actually tracking what you're good at?
Right. It treats learning as a passive compliance exercise rather than an active data mapping exercise. So when it comes to internal mobility, moving an employee to a new department currently relies far too much on luck.
It's all about timing.
Timing, or whether your specific manager happens to be a good personal advocate for you. It almost never happens because an analytical system accurately identified your underlying capabilities and matched them to a business need.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about your own workplace, right? How often is a career transition genuinely supported by data versus just happening because you happen to be in the right place at the right time?
Usually the latter. And companies know they have a problem here. But instead of fixing the infrastructure, they're just throwing cheap Band-Aids at it.
Like what?
Well, the author references Deloitte's 2026 State of AI in the Enterprise Report. It highlights that over half of organizations are investing in what they call general AI fluency.
Oh, general AI fluency, which essentially means they are paying for everyone in the company to take a 2-hour how to write a prompt video course, checking a box and calling it a day.
Exactly. It is the path of least resistance. Very few are doing the hard work of redesigning roles, reimagining career paths, and rethinking how their workforce data is organized.
And the downstream effect of that lazy approach is a total financial hemorrhage. IDC estimates that these AI skill shortages, driven by this exact failure to redeploy internal talent, could cost the global economy up to $5.5 trillion by 2026.
Trillion. It's just massive.
That's missed revenue, delayed product launches, and over 90% of global enterprises are facing those critical skill shortages right now.
90%.
But it's not because qualified people don't exist. It is entirely an infrastructure failure. Companies literally cannot see the talent they already have sitting in the cubicle next door.
This raises an important question. If traditional HR systems are failing this spectacularly and it's costing the market trillions of dollars, why do companies still default to external hiring?
Because they have no reliable, fast mechanism for internal development, they just don't have the tool?
Exactly. But the market hates a vacuum.
It sure does. And that brings us to the emerging tech solutions designed to fix this massive gap. We're talking about agentic workforce platforms.
Yes, this is the solution actively emerging right now.
So instead of HR handing you a paper map and wishing you luck, these agentic platforms act like a GPS that dynamically reroutes your career based on real-time traffic, or in this case, real-time business needs.
I love that Waze analogy. That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. An agentic platform isn't just a database you search. It is an active, unified system. It takes workforce intelligence, internal mobility, and AI-driven development and treats them as one single ecosystem.
So how does it actually work? Like, what are the components?
Well, the source breaks down exactly how this rerouting works through 4 distinct components. The first is an AI agent focused purely on career transformation.
Okay, so like a supercharged resume scanner?
Way more than that. It's not a personality quiz.
Yeah.
This AI actively parses your entire work experience, the projects you've delivered, and it maps your latent skills to realistic transitions.
So it looks at our software engineer from earlier and says, based on your deep product knowledge, you have an 85% match for this open technical sales role.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once that pathway is identified, the second component kicks in, which is the learning agent. And this is where it gets incredibly bespoke.
Because it's not just a generic syllabus.
Right. It builds a highly customized reskilling plan covering only your specific gaps. It might feed the engineer micro courses specifically on, say, enterprise sales methodology or executive communication.
Okay, so you have the transformation agent, the learning agent. What's next?
The third component is active opportunity matching. While you are learning, the platform is continuously scanning all the open roles, active gig projects, temporary task forces.
It's constantly looking for a match across the entire enterprise.
Yes. But the fourth component is arguably the coolest. It's simulation environments.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because you can't just take an engineer, hand them a certificate, and then throw them into a high-stakes negotiation with a Fortune 500 client.
Exactly. Before they ever face a real client, the AI runs them through dynamic role-playing scenarios. The AI literally role-plays as, like, a difficult procurement officer.
Wait, really? Like an interactive simulation?
Yeah. It throws objections at the employee, tests their negotiation tactics in real time, and gives instant feedback on their tone and pacing. It builds genuine competence in a safe space.
Okay, so the Waze analogy holds up perfectly then. It spots the roadblock, reroutes you, feeds you the exact instructions for the new route, and practically helps you drive the car in a simulator until you're confident.
It really does. And the market for this specific type of career GPS is exploding.
I bet. What kind of numbers are we talking about?
The financial data from the source shows the AI talent marketplace sector was valued at $2 billion in 2025, and it is projected to hit $10 billion by 2033.
Wow. We definitely need to talk about the companies actually building this $10 billion infrastructure. The article details a few specific market players that are fascinating.
Yeah, let's look at Eightfold.ai, for example. Their whole angle is using deep learning to map the complex relationships between roles and underlying skills.
So they take what used to require months of manual HR analysis and turn it into this continuously updated view of a company's talent.
Exactly. And then you have companies like Gloat and Phenom, who are heavily focused on discovering those adjacent opportunities we talked about.
The author also mentions Rejig, which focuses on redeployment, and they use something called an auditable AI engine. And I really want to clarify that term because it sounds like corporate jargon, but it is actually massive for HR.
It's critical. When we say auditable AI, we mean the system can literally show its math.
Right, because of bias concern.
Exactly. If an HR department gets sued and a labor board asks, why was this 50-year-old veteran engineer passed over for redeployment? The AI can output the exact skill mapping path it used.
It proves the decision wasn't based on age bias, but rather a mathematically verified gap in a specific competency, like they just lack the executive presentation skills.
Right. It removes the legal and ethical black box from AI hiring.
That makes total sense. It provides a literal paper trail of logic.
Wow.
And the article also mentions retrain.ai, right? They take a forecasting approach.
Yeah. Retrain.ai utilizes labor market data to predict future skill demands. That way companies can reskill people before the shortage even hits.
Proactive instead of reactive. And on the learning side, there's Cognizant SkillSpring.
Their approach is super interesting. It's about embedding the learning directly into the daily workflow. Like, you get tutored by an AI while you are actually doing the work, not in some separate browser tab.
That's amazing. And obviously, the massive enterprise heavyweights aren't just sitting by watching this happen. Like SAP, Oracle, Workday, they are all aggressively integrating these exact capabilities into their core HR systems.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the ultimate holy grail in this space is a single integrated platform.
Because right now it's a bit fragmented.
Yeah. Organizations are having to stitch all these vendors together. They buy Eightfold for mapping, Rejig for redeployment, Cognizant for tutoring. The real breakthrough is when all of these disconnected vendors merge into one seamless ecosystem.
So what does this all mean? We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We started with that flawed instinct to fire the old guard, explored how AI actually commoditizes execution while putting a premium on context, and unpacked the trillion-dollar gap that led to the rise of these agentic platforms.
I'd say the primary takeaway for anyone leading a team is a fundamental shift in mindset. You have to move away from optimizing for headcount, constantly trying to cycle in the cheapest, newest tech talent.
Right.
Instead, you have to optimize for adaptability. You have to build the infrastructure to redeploy the institutional knowledge you already own.
And for you, listening right now, navigating your own career through this transition, you need to recognize where your true durable value lies.
Absolutely.
Your greatest asset is not your newest technical credential. Because as we've established, hard technical skills have a shorter shelf life than ever before. Tomorrow, an AI will just do it faster.
It will.
Your real irreplaceable advantage is your domain knowledge. It's your business judgment, your understanding of the organizational messiness, your customer empathy, completely combined with your ability to work alongside these intelligent systems.
You don't have to be the fastest coder anymore. You just have to be the smartest conductor of the AI doing the coding. The individuals that win the next decade will be the ones who build that adaptability.
It's a totally empowering reframe. It means your experience actually matters more, not less, as the tech gets smarter.
It really does.
Yeah.
But I want to leave you with one final, maybe slightly provocative thought to chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
We spent this entire time talking about the rise of these agentic platforms, right? These AI agents that analyze your skills, your potential, and map your career trajectory perfectly. Well, if our organizations adopt AI agents that genuinely understand our capabilities and career paths better than our own human managers do, will the future of workplace ambition rely less on how well we pitch ourselves to a human VP over a round of golf, and more on how well we collaborate with the algorithm advocating for our next promotion?
Wow. Wait, really? Are you managing your boss or are you managing the algorithm?
Exactly.
If the AI is the one plotting your career GPS, you better make sure it understands your value. That is a wild, fascinating thought to end on, but it makes so much sense given where the tech is heading. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the future of work. Keep learning, keep adapting, and we will catch you next time.